We have GT4 action ready for you this evening here on Simsport Racing, the place to race at the iconic Spa-Francorchamps in the Ardennes Forest in Belgium. Alex Goldschmidt and Steve Proudley back with you once more. Good evening, Steve. How are things?
Good evening, Alex. Yeah, great. Thank you very much. And what a championship we've had so far. Spa tonight, fantastic track. It's going to really sort of highlight some cars' strengths and definitely show the weakness of some of the other cars. So the top three that are battling for the championship, they're going to have to make it count this evening, aren't they, Alex?
They are indeed. 4.352 miles, 7 kilometres. And, well, we were very much, I think Steve was very much matter of fact, and he was completely on the money as Kieran Vidago, as a result of Charlie Crossland's post-race penalty, took the victory and also took the fastest lap. And as a result of his incident, Charlie Crossland is actually not competing tonight because he is serving a ban. So that promoted both Tim Fulbrook and Angus Martin to round out the top three. Regan Mitchell in the leading Maserati was fifth, ahead of Carolus Sipavicius, Gerard Debar, Dave Hedges, Michael Haffenden and Aidan Bro also dropping 3 positions due to an incident that was deemed by race control to be avoidable. Ranjiv Kalsi, Mark Ranbury, Simon Wilkes and Lucas Nentalis rounded out the top 14 at Silverstone. So next up we go to the championship table, and it is Carolus Sipavicius leading Steve Haley, the defending champion from season 2, by just 5 points. Throw Aidan Bro into that mix, a further point behind in the 557 Audi. Charlie Crossland will drop a little bit further down the order because you've got the likes of Regan Mitchell and season 2 runner-up Tim Fulbrook rounding out the top 6. Yannick Muller, Gerard Debar, Kieran Vidago and Angus Martin could really come into their own here at in Belgium. And then let's have a look at the team's standings. Simply Race in the pair of KTM crossbows with the likes of Steve Haley and Aaron Walker. They're leading, but not by much. They're on 192 points ahead of the investigation team duo of Regan Mitchell and drifter Dave Hedges, hashtag. Apex Motorsport in the Mercedes, they're just 8 points adrift in third. HF Impala Racing second in the standings for the team's last time out on 146 points. 1001 Racing on 140 with Simbro Sport, Marcada Racing, Midlands Triple R, Black Mamba, Root Peg Brewing and Dunn Motorsport rounding out the top 11. This is the starting grid. Steve Haley, who took 15th last time out at Silverstone, will start on the reverse top 15 pole position ahead of Zentalis, Wilkes, Ranbury, Kalsi, Haffenden, Hedges, Debar, Bro, Sipavicius, Mitchell, Martin, Fulbrook, Vidago. Yannick Muller starts from 15th ahead of Gavin Utley with you've got the likes of Emery, Passport, Neutelings, Gilles rounding out the top 20, followed by Sean Buck, Richard Pixley. Denise Pope, she starts from 23rd, ahead of Jeffrey Wolf, Niall Schlitter, Colin Dunn, Andrew Ambro, Cameron Fife, Steve Allen, Evan Natafas, Aaron Walker, Reese Wiggin, Baz Schilstar and Adam Isalovic. Definitely, well, he's made his return. He said, well, it was a bit last minute, but I'll come back into it. Good evening to Chris Pinchbeck and also Andrew Fife, Cameron's granddad, watching. Obviously, we've also got Charlie Crossland watching by the sidelines. I know, Charlie, I know you. It's a weird feeling watching rather than racing, but I'm sure it's still going to be a dynamite race, Steve, over the next 45 minutes. And it's not looking dry. The microclimate of Spa has struck.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, to be honest, as we said in the opening, Spa will highlight the advantages, the strengths of some of the cars and show up the weaknesses of the others, but the rain, it equalises that ever so slightly, such as I'm thinking Stephen Haley in the KTM, he would have really struggled, I think, this evening to match sort of Aidan Bro and Sipavicius in the Porsche, obviously Aidan Bro in the Audi. But I think tonight with the rain, it may just be a little bit of a leveller. It just depends how wet that track is. It's saying wet at the moment, so I would expect them to be starting on wet tyres. So who knows now? I mean, this is going to really throw it open. And obviously Steve Haley has got that pole position this evening.
Yeah, that's going to give them run going down. And Guido FOC says, poor Maseratis. Yes, no ABS. No traction control, so Dave Hedges and Regan Mitchell in 7th and 11th respectively are going to have a lot of well, I think someone's going to definitely get his hashtag well and truly on point this evening, Drifter Dave. But as you can see on the top right-hand corner, you can see the weather predictions that for about the first 30 minutes of the race, it will be raining. Track temperature, very, very cold. And that is also going to cause a problem with it's going to help with the wet tyres, but obviously if that temperature starts climbing, Steve, and the track starts to dry out, that is going to cause a problem because the wets will start to overheat, they'll start to step, the back ends will start to go out to the left or the right, depending on which corner you're going through at this circuit. And also the elevation changes are a big talking point here too.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I mean, it's a technical track. It's a fast track. You know, it's an interesting one for the GT4s because I believe there's a bigger difference between the cars than there are in, say, the GT3 class. But you know, it's a leveler. It's going to be interesting, and I couldn't call it because obviously we've got this round and we've got Brands Hatch, and then that's the championship over. And as you read out earlier, as you highlighted in the championship standings, everything is to play for. It's so close. And we're not just talking about the top couple, we're talking about the top 5 or 6. You know, that anybody scoring good points tonight out of those top 6 drivers is going to keep themselves in that hunt for at the very least a top 3 finish in the championship, which is what they're all after. You know, obviously the championship win for a few of them, but to get in the top 3 when we've had an average of 35 cars for every race is going to be a fantastic achievement.
Yeah, we're going to have 32 on the starting grid as we are about 20 seconds away from the formation lap, and it is going to be quite a long one. You can just see the amount of cars lined up on the grids here at Spa-Francorchamps. We will be using the rundown from La Source. It will be the start-finish line that is normally used by the International GT Challenge. And that's how the 24 hours of Spa-Francorchamps always get started. So now it looks like we're about to wait to see, and Stephen Haley now pulls off from pole position and will start to lead the field on their way down to Eau Rouge and Radiant. And also, Steve, that's one of the other biggest things here as well. You can't go full throttle through Eau Rouge and through Radiant. You've got to sort of have that happy medium between the two.
Yeah, you've got to have the happy medium in these conditions, but you've also got to be so precise because you know the curbs aren't your best friend in these conditions, and touch the wrong part of the curb at the wrong time with the wrong throttle input or not enough throttle input. Something, you know, and that's it. It can end your race, especially at a corner like Radion. You know, through Eau Rouge and up through Radion, it can destroy your car, and any sort of damage at Spa is going to hurt you, and especially even if you have to make that pit stop because it's such a long pit lane as well. You know, it's pretty much race over when it's only a 45-minute race. So the lads are going to have to be very, very careful. And I don't think it's not so much going to be an all-out race with the top boys. They are thinking about this championship now. They are going to try and work their way through the field, such as Aidan Bro, Tim Fulbrook, Angus Martin, you know, all those sort of guys. Sipper Vicious, you know, he's in 10th. They're going to start try to work their way through the field, but they're going to be careful because a DNF or a finish, you know, lower down in the points, it's going to really hurt them tonight. Yeah, well, it looks like we're getting some predictions on the chat. Looks like Charlie Crossland said KTM, possibly P3 is my prediction. But the thing is that we have said about this, the rain is a leveler here at Spa-Francorchamps. And when you've got cars like the Porsches, you've also got the BMWs like the M4 GT4s. You know, the Audi could be very strong here. The Maseratis will have the grunt, but then they don't have the traction advantage like the other cars do. Yannick Möller, we saw him very, very quick at Silverstone last time out. So it is still all to play for. I mean, which car do you honestly think, or which cars could be the real competitive beasts here at the circuit? Well, I think out and out, the Porsche is the best GT4 car, I think. You know, just that's it. Bang on, it's the best average car, as it were, at every single track. But with the rain, having said that, the KTM of Steve Haley's is going to be very hard to pass. The Audi isn't a slouch. The Mercedes, that's another great car, you know, so the Mercedes that are there. The BMW is a quick car in a straight line. So I'm not really answering your question directly, but if you ask me which car do I want to be in tonight on that grid, I'd say the Porsche.
Well, Andrew Fife has just said, I've got a rubber dinghy if it helps, because he said it's not raining, it's peeing down. Well, I can't use the exact verbatim that Andrew used, but good observation there. Unfortunately, in GT4, you don't have a Boatley or a Bentley like you do in GT3s. Charlie Crossan's again, and he said, Super Vicious P2 if he can slice through the field. He's going to start from P10. So we have got Haley in the the KTM Crossbows, Zentalis, Wilkes, Raddenbury, Kelsey, Haffenden, Hedges, DeBar, Bro, Sipavicius, Mitchell, Martin, Fulbrook, Vidago, and Yannick Muller rounding out the top 15 positions. And this is where it's going to get rather interesting, because we're now getting to the latter part of the circuit itself, heading towards Blanchimont. It's going to be interesting, isn't it, though, Steve? As we've seen that Niall Schleter's pulled into the pits.
Yeah, absolutely. But I was just going to say, we're talking about the championship leaders at the moment, or the top 4, 5, 6 drivers. Let's not forget, obviously, it's a top 15 reverse grid, so we get some of the other drivers get a chance up at the front of the grid. We've got Ranjiv Kelsey. He normally goes well in the wet, doesn't he? In the GT3s and the GT4s, we've seen him have some good results in the wet. He seems to be a consistent driver. So there's drivers like him up the grid. Wilkes, they're not going to just pull over and let people like Sipavicius come past. They're going to make them work for it, and as we said, in these conditions, they're going to have to be very, very careful.
Yes, so we do have, they're just making their way through the bus stop chicane, so it is down to Haley and Zentalis. I mean, I'm just looking at the top 10, which is actually rounded out by Angus Martin, the A63 HF Impala with AMR Racing. And Chris, Rich Smith has just come in. He's chimed in as well. Good evening, Rich. Good evening, Chris Crossman. Steve Haley to win by more than 10 seconds as now they're heading through into La Source. It looks like we are about to get things underway in the wet here at Spa-Francorchamps. The lights are red at the moment. So Haley on pole, Zentalis alongside Wilkes and Radbury. Row number 2. They head down the hill. And we are just waiting, biding our time. The lights go from red to green. They push the accelerators hard to the floor. Great start by Steve Haley. He's already got the measure on Zentalis going through Eau Rouge and Radillon. This is where they're having to tippy-toey up towards Radillon. And they're all trying to make it nice and clean so far. No accidents that I've seen of yet. They are just all making it nice and cleanly through, as it's literally 2 by 2 hurrah, or it's even 3 abreast at one point just outside of the top 15 heading down the Kemmel Straight. But Zentalis pulling towards the outside of Haley going into Licon for the first time. But the KTM great on the brakes, a little bit of curb taken by Haley, but he manages to keep it all together. And it looks like we have Wilkes in 3rd place in the number 12. He's got the number 75 of Raddenbury just behind. So at the minute, a good start by everybody so far, Steve.
Yeah, absolutely. We've just got one spinner there. I think it was maybe Raddenbury or his teammate. It was definitely the Positive Perceptions Porsche that went round. But yeah, fantastic start by just about everybody on the field there. Really good to see. But Haley was having to just defend at the end of the long straight there, simply because the KTM maybe was just running out of steam. But he was good on the brakes, and like you say, took a bit of curb, took a bit of a chance. Because obviously these first few laps they are just feeling the way through around Spa at the moment and just finding those grip levels.
They are indeed. So Niall Schleter, I don't think has taken to the start. Unfortunately, might have had a technical issue there, as we were on board with Simon Wilkes currently in 3rd place, but he's got Raddenbury in the 75 breathing down his neck. But then watch out for Michael Haffenden, and he's absolutely slung it round the outside of Raddenbury there to now take what is effectively P4 on the road. So it's getting very, very treacherous out there. The absolute big amount of rooster tails being spat out behind the back axles of these cars. Absolutely mind-blowing, and it's not easy around the circuit, especially when you've got a rapid change of direction. But good to see that Simon Wilkes, Aidan Bro, has absolutely made up some headway here. He's already up into what is 6th position. He's closing. That looks to be, I think that is Raddenbury just up ahead, as he's got past Ranjiv Kelsey. So the Audi coming into its own here in the wet. He's gone a little bit late on the brakes going through the first part of the bus stop chicane. So,
absolutely. I mean, Haffenden, just going back to Haffenden, he's up to 4th place as well. He's not had the best of seasons by his standards, so he'll be looking for a good result just to, to rescue some points for this season. But yeah, Aidan Bro, fantastic start up to 6th place. More importantly for Aidan, he's got past Sid Vicious, who's heading the championship at the moment. But Haley, after lap 1, is 3.1 seconds up the road in the lead. He's really got his head down. He knows what he's got to do against Aidan Bro and Sid Vicious this evening. He's got to get that gap, he's got to get a lead, and he's got to make the gap big enough that it's pretty much impossible for those guys to catch him.
Yeah, so we have 41, just under 42 minutes of this race remaining. Aidan Bro just under 3/4 of a second behind Mark Rannebury as they are now, as it's look at Hedges and Mitchell definitely having a bit of argy-bargy through in their own respective battles, as Regan Mitchell trying to go up the inside of Gerard de Bar going through the first part of Les Combes, but he looks like he's got the outside run on the run down through into Malmedy, and the number 69. Oh, Gerard de Bar runs wide, and that is going to allow Kieran Vidago and possibly the likes of Stijn Pasbond and Yannick Muller to get past. So that could be. Now we're going to go to a replay here. Now this is earlier on. Now that if you said it was Colin Dunn that was the one that spun there, and he's clashed with Aaron Walker. Walker's run wide. He's collected Natafas's results as spinning around. Yeah, I think in many respects that was a bit of trying to go in, cold tyres, wet weather conditions, track very much green, and it just sort of called Colin out a little bit there, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, and like I say, it was one of the positive perception cars, so that's Mark Roddenberry's young teammate. But Aaron Walker doing really well. He's up to 22nd, I believe, now, and didn't he start down round about 30th or something like that, 29th, 30th?
31st, but keep your eyes on Richard Pixley. He's already up from 22nd to 15th. He's already up past Richard Emery, and he's got Stijn Pasbond in the 444 Janetta chasing him down. Those two are pretty much on level pegging, as Yannick Muller trying to get past Gerard de Bar. This is the battle for 12th position, and they've got Kieran Vidago. Muller's putting it round the outside of de Bar in the Mercedes, and he's used that runoff area. He's kept that fully planted in, and he's lost the back end. Muller goes spinning around as well, but he keeps it out of the barriers, and that was coming out of Courbol Frère and heading into Blanchimont. Well, that was out of Blanchimont and heading towards the bus stop chicane. So Yannick Muller very, very easily lost the back end. And now Sipavicius trying to get onto level pegging terms with Simon Wilkes, and you've got Mark Rannebury. Sipavicius absolutely nailed it up the inside as Vidago goes up the inside of Regan Mitchell for 9th position as they make their way down this increasingly heavy descent, as Adam Isalovic has made some headway. He's actually just powered around the outside of La Source on Ollie Gill and tried to go up the inside of him. So Isalovic started down in 32nd and stone dead last. He's already made up 12 places. Sipavicius trying to close on, he's got past Wilkes. He's got Bro just up ahead. But Bro in his own right is trying to go up the inside of Michael Haffenden. And I think it's got the move done going through into Les Combes. So that looks to be the case, that Haffenden has lost out of position. The Audi really, really coming good in this race. He's got the move done. They go through Malmedy. The Porsche of Haffenden has to go wide, and that is now going into Bruxelles. And then Sipavicius is absolutely flying at the moment. But Steve Haley is the fastest driver out there in clean air, in the wet, at 2:40.881. Wow.
Yeah, he's a lot faster at the moment because he's got that clean air, because he's not having to battle, he's not attacking, he's not defending, he's just got his head down and putting the consistent laps in, and that's what he needs to do, because we can see now how hard Aidan Bro is charging, and Sipavicius is hanging onto the back of him. He's literally, he's wanting to follow him through. He's trying to eye up Haffenden to get past him. He doesn't want Bro to get away, because at the moment Sipavicius is the man that's top of the table with the points, so he's going to push very, very hard and try and get through and get up to the front. As we're just looking at Pixley trying to go around Gerard de Bar at the moment. Gerard's gone very wide, giving Pixley the inside line. In fact, Gerard's literally run off the track there, and he may lose a position to Passpont as well.
Passpont trying to go around the outside of de Bar and actually makes the move. Nicely done by Stijn Pasmont. Really, really good job there from the triple Fortunetta. Yannick Muller, it could be. I think we might have another hashtag incoming, as that is. The thing is, unfortunately, you can't say Drifter Muller. It's going to be like Muller Madness or something like that. That will be the hashtag, because that back end of the Mercedes is absolutely loose. I mean, it's worse than a NASCAR going around the Daytona, Daytona International Speedway, as in the oval itself. That car is an absolute handful of the wet here at Spa.
Yeah, maybe he's got his dry setup on, he's made no adjustments, low air or something like that, or maybe he's picked up some damage. We won't find out until after the race maybe, but yes, definitely looks very loose. Looks like as soon as he's trying to get on the power out the corners, after the apex, the back end is stepping out and he's having to lift on the power, so a bit of a handful for him. He's currently lying 7th, I believe, in the championship, so he could have done with a good finish tonight.
Yeah, that is the case. He's currently 7th on 92 points, 14 behind Tim Fulbrook at the moment. And Fulbrook all the way down in 29th. Top 20 do score. And the drivers really having to keep themselves off of the curbs. And you could see how hard. And that was a run wide and a half from Passpont there, as it's three abreast coming out of Hadillon. But I don't think Passpont can keep that position. He needs to hand one back, I think, to Pixley, because he went round the outside of him and took, I think, he went off track, all four wheels, from my honest opinion. But Muller has got past Pixley in the meantime, it looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. That was sort of well wide, wasn't it? Fair play to him. He was very brave to use that much track in these conditions, but yeah, definitely an overtake gained by an off-track pass, so it'd be nice to see him give that back, so the stewards don't have to investigate it. But great stuff, great racing from everybody so far. Fantastic job. Again, just looking at the gap up front, Steve Haley is now just over 8 seconds away, so he's continually putting those laps in. His last lap, I believe, was a 41 dead, pretty much, so within a couple of tenths of his fastest lap. So yeah, he's doing the laps. He's still lapping faster than the guys that are chasing him. So he's doing what he needs to do. As we're watching Passport at the minute, trying to get back onto the rear end of Gerard Debar, who just ran a little bit wide there. These guys are going to have to be very, very careful. As we see, that's Pixley.
Muller tags with Pixley. Yeah, Muller tags with Pixley. Oh. It was going to come to that at one point, that someone was going to cause a problem, but I think they've both got damage. Those cars are going to be absolutely limping home at the moment. But keep your eyes on Aidan Bro. He's absolutely annihilated that gap between him and himself and Zentalis. It was 1.7 seconds. Bro has been taking an absolute country mile and a half out of Zentalis and is looking to close. He's about 0.2 of a second away from gaining second position. He did a 2-minute 43.1. Zentalis did a 2-minute 43. That was very, very close there between. That is Zentalis there. Now it looks like Bro has made the move. So I'm just trying to keep an eye on where Aidan. So Bro is up into second position. He's 12 seconds behind Steve Haley. And now that he's got some clean air, because the Audi now coming through La Source, and you can see that Michael Haffner still rounds out the top three, but he's a little bit further behind Aidan Bro. He's about 1.1 seconds at the minute, as quite a few of the field. Looks like Kieran Vidago's dropped a few places towards the bottom part of the top 10. As Regan Mitchell trying to look towards the inside of the Porsche, heading into Eau Rouge, and then Radillon thinks better of it. Didn't have the run, but he's... so it's Dave Hedges, my apologies there. Kelsey running a little bit wide. Vidago in the mix too. He's got Vidago's got an absolute brilliant slingshot. Look, he's going up the inside of the pair of them, going down the Kemmel Straight, and it looks like Kieran Vidago is going to get the run on the pair of them. He tried to do what Sergio Perez couldn't do at Spa-Francorchamps one particular year. He managed to get up the inside, and luckily enough, the weather was on his side. So that's a great move there from Kieran Vidago. Well anticipated and well timed.
Yeah, and it just went to show what the Maserati boys are up against in the braking zone, because you just saw without the aid of ABS how much earlier Dave Hedges had to brake than two Porsches in front of him. They literally left him for dead in that braking zone. So yeah, hats off to those two Maserati boys, currently running in 10th and 11th there. Yeah, I don't think they'll be smiling a lot this evening. But what I was going to say before we saw Pixley slide off, the guys are going to have to watch for the track limits this evening. everything. The track cuts still count. They'll still be getting tallied up by the sim itself. They'll be given drive-throughs automatically if they exceed the number of track cuts allowed. And we've certainly seen plenty of cars running wide. So, once we get another sort of 15 minutes or so into this race, don't be surprised to see some drive-throughs pop up.
Yeah, I mean, it's even worse in wet weather conditions for these drivers, because they're really having to push like crazy, but they've really got to sort of keep it all ship-shape and bristle fashion going through the corners as Dave Hedges closes on Ranjiv Kalsi, and this is for 9th position, whereas Michael Haffenden is now being pressurised by Karoris Sipavicius. You can see that Aidan Bro is trying to close on Steve Haley. Gaps now nearly 13 seconds between 1st and 2nd position, but Haffenden is dropping behind. And he's been running about half a second slower as Haffenden runs a bit wide there. That's going to allow Sipavicius to close up as they make their way through into the bus stop chicane coming out of Blanchimont. So it's going to be really tough for these drivers. Yellow flags briefly out and then retracted.
Yeah, and Haley's still doing what he needs to do. He's put the fastest lap in of the race with a 2:40.3. Bro on his first flying lap with no traffic, with clear air, 2:42.4. So literally 2 seconds off Haley's pace. So that gap is now up to 14.2 seconds. So it seems that Haley is stretching the legs. As just watching on screen, we saw Haffenden just got a bit of a tap.
Yeah, from Sipavicius. So Sipavicius better watch it as well, because we've had it where drivers have gone for the move and it hasn't really worked out, and then they've been pinged by race control, well, by the stewards during the stewards meeting that we have. Don't forget, if you do want to join the ever-expanding community, over 625 drivers and members climbing, it's simsport-racing.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. But head to our official website where you can actually find our Discord server, get the invite, and we'll be able to make sure that you have a lot of fun whilst racing. We're firm but fair when it comes to making sure that people get the right training to move up through the order. It's now Simon Wilkes. I must be honest here, even though he's battling away with Ranjiv Kalsi, the BMW, he's been doing his best. I mean, he was running as high as P3 at the start of the race, Steve, but now he's coming under fire from everyone behind.
Yeah, he seems to be struggling a little bit. I mean, I said in the run-up to the start that he was a reasonable driver in the wet. He's a good driver in the wet, but he just seems to be struggling. He's actually there. He's just managed to dive around the outside of Wilt, which was a very brave move through double gauche. But he's given that position back again, by the looks of it. He's dropped off again.
Yeah, I mean, it's just really one of those things where you just can't sort of anticipate what is going to happen. And I'm just sort of calculating some points at the moment. That obviously with Steve Haley at the minute, he's got the fastest lap so far. So effectively the virtual championship standings for the top three at the minute is 172 to Steve Haley, 164 to Aidan Bro, and Karolis Sipavicius would drop down to third on 160 points. Well, actually, that might be 162. So the top three currently in the virtual championship standings would be covered by 10 points. But it just depends on what happens over the next 29 minutes and 10 seconds as we see the investigation team duo, the Maseratis of Dave Hedges and Regan Mitchell, trying to close in on Ranjiv Kalsi.
Yeah, I'm just watching behind those guys though. We've got Passpont really closing in on Wilkes and putting him under some pressure, as we're looking at Walker on Pope at the moment as well. Aaron's made his way up to 26th place, Pope's in 25th, and he's really putting her under some pressure now, and he's going to try and get past her, I would imagine, in very short order.
Yeah, they're now heading through as there's Stain Passpont trying to close on Wilkes as they're going to head into La Source. And Passpont trying to put the car towards the outside to get the cut back through La Source, and he nearly gets the opportunity that he needs to go down the hill, as now Aaron Walker sends it toward the outside of the bus stop chicane. As Denise Pope, she got the inside run for the first part of the chicane, and the back end just stepped out. She tried putting the power down, it just rotated the back end of the Porsche. It's a real shame for Denise. It looks like Tim Fulbrook has called it, well, he's in the pits, as is Cameron Fife. So we still have 30 drivers speculating as we have 28 minutes on the clock still to go.
Yeah, credit to Cameron Fife. He wasn't going to race this evening. He mentioned the other day, so he's done very little practice. But obviously, it looked like his. I was just looking at his lap times, and they look to be a bit of a way off. And in these conditions, little practice, maybe he's just decided it was safer to park it tonight.
Yep. So Passport trying to close up once again on Wilkes, and this is the battle for 11th position. They've got Regan Mitchell just ahead. As Passport looks to be a little bit more composed in the twisty stuff here at Spa. As Reese Wiggin trying to close on Baz Schilster. That's the battle for 19th position. And they're definitely making their way down the bottom of the circuit. Oh, bit of a touch there. Bit of a touch between Reese Wiggin and Baz Schilster. But Schilster keeps it pinned to the outside. Wiggin does the sensible thing. And gives the position back. Meanwhile, Passport trying to go up the inside of Wilkes for 11th position. They're going through, and Passport keeps it round the outside. How has he kept that one going? That's going through Lefagnan Campus, I believe, and then into the run down towards Stavelot. But that was a great move there from Stin Passport, as now Yannick Müller trying to keep ahead of Richard Pixley, with Gerard Debar just up ahead.
Yeah, it looks like Wilkes has been struggling a little bit with the BMW,
hang on.
but there was a caution in the background, wasn't there?
Yeah, that was Rattenbury. That was Rattenbury. He was in 7th position. So has he come to dramas? Because he was 1.8 seconds up the road from Ranjiv Kalsi. So Kalsi now moves up into 7th, and we'll just wait for the timing to change a little bit as. I think Ranenbury was up as high as 6th position. There's Kieran Vidago. There is Kelsey. So that was Ranenbury that was on the side of the road. And he's now dropped to 15th position. Mark Ranenbury on course for a really, really good finish. Now he's in the position that I think Jeffrey Wolf might want to start charging for, because that's for provisional reverse top 15 pole position for the season finale. Next week at Brands Hatch.
Yeah, absolutely, and Brands Hatch is going to be a challenging circuit to overtake on. Let's get Spa out of the way first. We've still got 25 minutes and 30 seconds of this race to go, so we've got plenty of time. But Steve Haley's he's doing what he needs to do at the moment. He's 15 seconds up the road, and Edinburgh's struggling to make that gap any smaller. If anything, it's still extending ever so slightly. So these conditions are suiting the KTM, or maybe not the KTM, but they're suiting Steve Haley. He's doing the job he needs to do as we watching Pixley now closing on the back of Gerard Debar, still trying to get that 13th place from him. He's still putting him under pressure, and he's making that Ginetta work, and he's making the BMW in front really think about where he goes.
Yeah, I think I've just seen Stain Passport go past Regan Mitchell. They were side by side down the Camel Straight. So we're going to now go to a replay. Now that we're going to see what's going to happen here. So this is Mark Ranenbury in the 75, goes onto the curbs, puts the power down on the AstroTurf, and it spears into the barrier. Right front goes deep in. So yeah, that was just a bit too. That was the AstroTurf. As soon as you touch that, Steve, that's absolutely saturated with water at this particular moment.
Yeah, he missed the apex by a country mile, didn't he, and ran very wide, and like you say, was onto the apex. And as we see in there is that 75, that's Roddenberry again in the walls. So he's maybe just picked up some damage now that's making the car very difficult to drive in these conditions. But yeah, what like we said at the beginning, you've got to be precise, you've got to hit those apexes, you've got to keep it off the curbs the best you can. And if you don't, that's what happens. As we're just looking at Pixley now, again, still trying to close up on the bar, and there's Roddenberry. As you can see, that bonnet's flapping, but it looks like we've had a few more cars with a couple of incidents there parked up at the side of the track. Yeah,
looks like the likes of Schilster and Wiggin at it again, and in the 16 and the 667, because at the moment Steve Haley currently still leading. He's still running in the 2-minute 40 bracket, a high 2-minute 40. Aidenborough is about 0.8 off at the minute, but he's 15 seconds or so adrift. As you can just absolutely see, that Mark Ranenbury is just fighting to get that car back to the pits and repair whatever damage, but he might park that car up. So that has changed completely the possibility of who is going to get the reverse top 15 pole position. At the moment, Jeffrey Wolf from Simsport in the 86 BMW is currently sitting in 15th place. And now we've got Gavin Utley and Richard Emery, you got the number 14 and the number 115 BMW.
Yeah, the teammates here of Root Peg Brewing, I think it is their team's called. So it'd be interesting to see if anyone gives, if they give team orders out between them two, as we're just looking at what happened to Raddenbury now.
Okay, well, he's just going through. Again, it's another run wide. Again, that AstroTurf. And that was a massive hit. And okay, right, we're just going to keep with it at the moment. He rotates back, reverses back, gets back onto the circuit. Now, look, you've got Shilstra, and that's Reese Wiggin closing up. Look at the closing speeds coming up. And Shilstra's going to send it. Wiggin goes up the inside, hits Shilstra. Shilstra goes sideways, and then all of a sudden, that was Angus Martin, and he's got absolutely nowhere to go. Gets collected, and then you've also got one of the Root Peg Brewing cars and Shilstra gets another dose of being collected by another car, and that I think that might have been Richard Emery there.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be a stewards' inquiry. I would imagine someone's going to report that incident, but the stewards will watch that back and hand out any penalties as required. But yeah, it looked a little bit messy. But it just goes to show us we're seeing another one of the Root Peg Brewing cars at 90 degrees across the track. And I'm guessing, obviously, we were on board with Emery, so that must have been Gav Utley.
Yeah, as Hedges now trying to go toe-to-toe, mano-a-mano with Ranjith Kelsey. And then Yannick Muller. Now, I've just noticed that Regan Mitchell is outside of the top 10. He's in 11th. Oh, sideways from drifter Dave Hedges. And he catches that one. Oh, my goodness me. That Maserati, I bet, is absolutely no fun to drive in these wet weather conditions. But hats off to Hedges and Mitchell for carrying on as they have done. And Hedges still back on the rear bumper of Ranjith Kelsey, Stijn Paspoort, and also Yannick Muller, who now rounds out the top 10. This is a four-way scrap for 7th position. 21 minutes on the clock to go. They're definitely keeping their elbows well and truly out as Hedges goes wide again. Paspoort wide again. Muller trying to go towards the outside of the Triple Fortunetta through Blanchimont and into the bus stop chicane, and he's put it round the outside through the first part of the chicane as Dave Hedges gets a little bit of a tail snap. But that was a great anticipation and a great switch back there from Yannick Muller to steal one off of Stijn Paspoort in the Triple Fortunetta. So Yannick Muller in the number 77 Mercedes up to P9 and closing on Dave Hedges.
Yeah, absolutely. Dave Hedges doing really well to keep that car in the top 10, to be honest. It's not going to be fun to drive. It's not easy. And as we can see, the tail is very lively on it, and it won't be much fun in the braking zones. But Paspoort and, they're all really quick drivers, and Muller's going to really make Dave work now.
Yeah, looks like Evan Natafas, I think, has ended up in the pits, possibly. The Alpine, the sole Alpine in this field.
Watch this into the braking zone now, as it looks like Muller's got alongside Hedges and maybe got his nose in front. And look at that, Dave Hedges is on the brakes way before Muller. He got the job done before the braking zone, but there was no way Dave was going to come back from that one. And that's Dave Hedges down to 9th, Muller up to 8th. Yeah,
now we're going to go to another replay. Now this is Gavin Utley in the number 14. He's closing. I think that is on. That is on Mark Neuteling's, I believe. That's going through Lecombe. Going through the second part of it. The back end steps out. Oh! And he just loses the back end. Nearly collects Reese Wiggin in the process, and then has to pull out of the way because you've got the likes of Shilstra, Walker et al. Trying to get past. And good forward thinking there from Gavin Utley, even though the front of that BMW, bonnet flapping in the rain and also looking a bit second-hand at the front of it. But yeah, that just goes to show that you put it on the curbs. You mentioned that the curbs are going to be slick. There is no room for error here at Spa-Francorchamps, and that's how hard it can bite at a second's notice. Oh, that was sideways there from Zentalis as Vidago trying to close in at this particular moment in time. So Vidago, who won the last race at Silverstone officially, he's currently in 6th place, chasing the 102 of Zentalis down. And the gap between Steve Haley and Aidan Bro is exceeding, I think will be exceeding very shortly, around about 18 seconds as we're on lap number 11 of this race. But still, it's been heart in the mouth all the way through so far, Steve.
Yeah, battling all the way down the field, and it has to be said, Vidago's having a fantastic race because he had a bit of a rough start, and I think he lost a few positions. It almost looked like he was going backwards at the start, but he's got it all together, and his race is coming to him now, and he's in the top 6 and looking to get that 5th place off Zentalis as soon as he can. Just to mention, Denise Popo was having a little bit of banter on Twitter with her. She was hoping to score some points, and she'd even given herself the nickname #PopeTrain because she always seemed to be holding a few drivers up. So I said to her it was time to get the #Pope Express out and try and gain some points, but she's not done that this evening. She seems to be dropping back down the field. She's had a few incidents, and I believe last time I looked she was down in about 30th place. So and she's 27th now, actually, so she's recovered some places, but not having the race maybe that she wanted to do, but at least she's still running, she's still on the track, and there is 17 minutes for her to get into that top 20.
Yeah, she did mention the word aliens in one of her particular tweets I noticed earlier on this afternoon. But, you know, she's been running on a lot of platforms at the minute. You know, she's running on the Sim Grid, she's running on Sim Racing Hub International. They had a race last night and she got into the top 10, so she's learning just how ultra competitive it is in Simsport Racing. But it's still good to see that no matter what gets thrown at Denise Pope, she is always chomping at the bit. She's always wanting to move forward and get as high up the order as she can. You know, we've seen it in the GT3, we've seen it in the GT4. You know, so there is potential there for Denise Pope to move further forward, and like you say, there is still time for her to make up positions.
Yeah, absolutely. And talking about positions, Dave Hedges has lost positions. His teammates got past him. Kelsey's got past him. He's actually down to 11th now, and he's got Pixley hard on his tail. So I'm just wondering if Dave Hedges has had a little bit of an issue, a bit of a moment where Drifter Dave didn't maybe quite catch the slide.
Yeah, that could have been a Drifter Dave disaster, I think, there. Triple D, there you go. We could just further extend that hashtag as the evening goes on, but Dave knows it's all in jest. I mean, it's you know, with the way that these drivers, we know that a lot of them are on the servers pretty much most nights. They'll put in the time, they'll put in the effort, and you know, it'd be quite interesting to hear from both Dave and Regan on how hard that car has been to handle in the wet, because we saw that Yannick Müller, who is really motoring on in that Mercedes, he was very loose, but the car with the evolution of the track, even in the wet weather conditions, has really started to motor on forward, and that pace has really come up for Yannick. But it looks like we've got 28 out of the 32 cars still running, with Niall Schleter being the 28th driver still out on the circuit, as Ollie Gilles now being pressurised by Aaron Walker in the number 99 KTM Crossbow, as we are literally a couple of seconds away from the final third of this race. Nice move there from Aaron Walker up the inside of Ollie Gilles, and that just goes to show that the KTM loses a bit of momentum there, does Walker, as he put 2 wheels on the grass on the right hand side. So Ollie Gilles back up the inside. This will be going through Blanchimont, up to, well, not Blanchimont, this will be going up towards one of the other parts of the circuit. Is a little bit more curved than probably that's a run wide and a half.
That was a
Aaron
slide.
Walker.
He did well to hold that, and I would have to say, Aaron, I mean, he's in 22nd. He really for the team game, he needed to get into that top 15, so that if need be next week at Brands Hatch at the final round, he could have offered some assistance to his teammate. But in the last 14 minutes, can he get into the top 15? I think that's a step too far. It's mission impossible for Aaron Walker, I believe.
He'll need to change his name to Tom Cruise to make that mission impossible work. As that's a move and a half from Yannick Müller. He's trying to get past Lucas Zentalis, as Kieran Vidago now up into 5th place. And Walker has got past on the exit of La Source, going down into Eau Rouge and then Radillon. As Zentalis trying to keep it around the outside of Vidago there. That's brave and then some. But Yannick Müller in that Mercedes has got the slipstream on the 102 and also the number 4 just in front. So this is going to be rather tetchy as Zentalis loses out to Yannick Müller. Look at the run the Mercedes has got on the Porsche. Wow.
Yeah, it looked like Vidago got the inside line, but because of that tighter line, he maybe just had to lift a little bit. But I think he's managing just to hold on to it. As
there's a touch between the pair, and Vidago sideways.
Yeah, well held.
Catches it like a good one. And Müller loses a bit of momentum. That puts him into the path of not just Zentalis. But look, Passport not too far behind. So the Ginetta proving its worth in the wet. The 3.7 litre V6 Ford Duratec powered G55 GT4. It's been most of the championship success with the likes of Sarah Moore and Mo Ritson in terms of racing in Brit car, amongst other categories. But Yannick Muller, I don't know how Kieran Vidago, I think he lost about all of his 9 lives as Vidago runs wide. Muller trying to go towards the outside. Now this is the run down through Blanchimont into the bus stop chicane. This is where the Mercedes really comes into its own. He goes towards the outside of the bus stop. Didn't have the run of Vidago enough to get past, but he still kept in close proximity as we go on board with Passport and then on to Zentalis. You can just see how hard Yannick Muller is pushing.
Yeah, absolutely. Kieran's under a lot of pressure at the moment, and you can just see again in these conditions, if you run ever so slightly wide, you just lose that momentum, and it gives the attacking car behind just that extra bit of an edge. And we're going to see Muller now really tuck in behind Vidago up through Eau Rouge and Radion, and he's going to be looking to make a move now down the Camel Straight, I would imagine.
Yeah, they're literally line astern. Same for Zentalis and Passport going up the hill towards Radion, through onto the Camel Straight, the Quartet go. And Yannick Muller absolutely has got that foot pinned to the floor. Wipers going from left to right on that GT4 Mercedes. And he's right in the slipstream. He's going now, he's pulling out of the slipstream on Vidago into the Lecom complex. Not close enough there, but look, he gets a good run coming out of the first part. And then they're going to go, gets a little bit of a tack slapper going through the second part of Lecom as they head through Malmedy, down the dip in towards Bruxelles. Muller is absolutely waiting for that opportunity, but he's looking a bit impatient there. He's looking a little bit desperate, but he's waiting for Vidago to run that little bit wide. But Vidago in the number 4 Porsche not giving Muller an opportunity, because once you give someone an inch, they take a mile.
Yeah, absolutely. Vidago doing very, very well there, because Muller just lost the back end there, and he's lost the back end a couple of times on this lap already, and he did that just coming up through Radion, which is what I believe cost him the run down the Kemmel Straight, as we've just seen. I think that's Passport just trying to go around the outside of Zentalis, but he's just run too wide and lost momentum, and he's got a bit of ground to make up now. But no, Vidago is soaking up the pressure really well from Muller, and he's just doing what he needs to do at the moment, which is keep those lines, keep it tight, and just try and drive his own lines, drive his own race.
Well, Steve, I've just been doing some calculations at the moment, so that's why I've been a little bit silent for the last couple of minutes or so, apart from when something catches my eye, like we've just had at the moment. So I'm just looking at the championship permutations on what is going on at the moment. So at the minute, virtually speaking, Stephen Haley, now this is obviously subject to any post-race protests and appeals and the discretion of the stewards depending on certain incidents. Steve Haley will have a lead. He'll go back into the lead of the championship going into Brands Hatch as we're on board with Yannick Muller. Brilliant angles once again as he's lost it. Vidago lost it through the second half of the bus stop chicane, and that was effectively an opportunity that Yannick Muller saw coming. And going across the line, Yannick Muller now heads up into, and it's changing my figures again. God, what are you guys doing to me? What are you guys doing to me? Honestly. I mean,
the important thing, Alex, has got to be that the top 3 for the championship are in the top 3. I mean, that's where we're focusing, isn't it?
Very much the case, because Haley will be on 172 points. It will be even Stevens on 164 points between Supervicious and Aidan Bro, but Bro will be on countback because it always goes down to the bet. As far as I'm aware, it goes down towards race results. So Supervicious, yes, has already had a win, but Aidan Bro, effectively, he's currently second. But Supervicious has been closing by about half a second. So Aidan Bro, we did find out that at one of the races, I think it was it Silverstone? I think it was. He said that he had problems with the brakes. The brakes started to sort of like fade a little bit towards the end of the race. I think, or that might have been Suzuka, where he did some of the best overtaking, I think, all season long. Ran the outside of the hairpin 4 times in 4 laps. So he knows how to work that out pretty well. But that's where the real sort of crux is, because if Supervicious gets past him, he will actually get to within 6 points of Steve Haley. And that's how that's how much of a pendulum swing. Whatever Sipavicius does, Haley is going to be like thinking, okay, the hard part is, I think the hard part isn't really over because we've got one more race, and that's where they're going to put it all on the line at Brands Hatch. It's just changing all the time, the permutations.
Well, the good thing about Brands Hatch is it's a bit of a leveler playing field for the cars. The KTM won't suffer as much at Brands Hatch, so it will come down to the drivers. Obviously, Steve Haley, if he does manage to bring it home in the last sort of just under 8 minutes left, as we're just looking at Badago looking a bit loose there, but if Haley brings it home in first, obviously at Brands, he's going to be starting in 15th place, and at the moment that will be behind his championship rivals. So he will have a bit of work to do, so it'll be nice for him to go into that round with a little bit of a cushion. But as you say, you know, I mean, just looking at Muller, he's got past Badago, and he's now extending that lead on Badago. He's edging that gap out, and he's really got the foot down now, and he's sort of going. He's got a long way to catch Haffenden, so I don't think he's going to do that unless Haffenden makes any mistakes. But Sipavicius now he's in half a second behind Aidan Bro, so Aidan Bro's going to have to start watching his mirrors now.
Yep, Sipavicius is definitely within lunge range as we have just under 7 minutes to go. Ranjiv Kalsi, look at the effort there from Richard Pixley, up from 22nd on the grid. He's currently rounding at the top 10, as there is Sipavicius. And now he's got the run on Bro. Bro's got to go defensive. He's now got a battle on his hands. And this is where it's going to really count, because he's now, Sipavicius looked to go towards the inside at Licon. But knew there wasn't enough of a run on Bro to get past. So this is where Aidan Bro is really going to earn these points, because he's now got to do a defensive job. And even if Sipavicius gets ahead and doesn't pull away, you can see they're jinking from left to right. Oh my goodness, Sipavicius nearly went into the back end of Aidan Bro, but he's sticking it round the outside of the Audi. But Bro keeping a tight apex there and making it clean. He's taking the racing line, which is he's within his rights to do so, being the lead car in this battle. But you can just see how much the closing speeds are from Sipavicius in the 101 Porsche.
Yeah, he's pushing. He's really pushing now, and obviously he wants to get in front of Bro to, maximise the gap between himself and Bro in the championship, and also to try and manage that gap a little bit better between himself and Haley, and just claw it back a couple of points if he can. Bro's not going to be an easy guy to pass. He's a fantastic driver. He knows how to pedal that Audi, but equally Sipavicius is quick in the Porsche, so this is going to be a good battle. It's going to have to be a measured move. He doesn't want to be making any silly lunges, because we've only got 5.5 minutes left of this race, so he doesn't want to be attacking too hard and costing himself time rather than getting the job done.
Yeah, exactly. I very, very much agree there. And I saw that Sipavicius actually had a moment, so that has allowed Aidan Bro to sort of scarper away into the distance a little bit there. So Aidan Bro having a little bit of daylight at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. And this is where it's going to get really, really interesting, because I'm just writing down all these different points at the moment. And out of the top 6 drivers, 2 drivers will actually drop out of the top 6 by my reckoning, because both Charlie Crossland, serving a race ban, is not racing this evening. Tim Fulbrook is not competing. He's out of this race, and he still sits on 106 points. But then you bring into this Yannick Müller, who is in 5th place. That will net him 32 points and brings him up from 92. And that will put him on to 124 points. Kieran Vidago goes up onto 113 points, because he'll score 30 for being in 6th place. So this is just how much it's changing. Because then, effectively, Yannick Müller and Kieran Vidago become the last 2 drivers in the top 6, which pushes Charlie Crossland and Tim Fulbrook out of that as a result of both drivers' respective situations. But Stephen Haley is. I think he's in front of us. Dave Hedges goes sideways and manages to catch the drift That hashtag's reared its ugly head. And thank you very much to our broadcast director from simplyrace.co.uk, Mike Yao, once again, for providing such fantastic imagery this evening. But yeah, that was a full-on Drifter Dave disaster going through Radion there. The Triple D, as I'm going to call it now.
Yeah, absolutely. He was giving it full beans there, and Dave has dropped a few positions. But, you know, like I say, he's still doing a great job. His teammate Regan Mitchell up in 11th, Hedges in 14th, and coming under pressure now from Jeffrey Wolf in the BMW, who's looking to try and put it around the outside, but the Maserati's holding a nice tight line, and Jeffrey just wants to watch the Maserati's back end on the exit of the corners, because he could wipe him out if it steps out and he's alongside. But yeah, Jeffrey Wolf keeping him under pressure, Dave keeping it straight, keeping it clean, and he's just trying to minimise the damage of the wet weather tonight, 'cause it's not easy in those Maseratis.
Yeah, so just under 2.5 minutes to go, but Jeffrey Wolf, I think, might have to sort of have a bit of discretion is the better part of valour in the Simbro sport car, as Supervicious closing on Aidan Bro. And I think now Steve Haley is effectively on the 17th and final lap. Supervicious going one way, looking the other. Gets right into the back bumper of the 557 of Aidan Bro. And you look at it this way, both drivers have made up 7 positions over the course of the race. They now go into La Source, so we've got just under 2 minutes remaining. Oh, Bro runs a little bit wide, but he keeps the power in. Oh, that was well and truly planted by Aidan Bro. He absolutely nailed the throttle coming out of the corner, went towards the outside line of La Source and kept it ahead of Supervicious on the run down to Eau Rouge and Radion. Nicely played there by Aidan Bro. And it was fair racing. It was absolutely fair racing there.
Yeah, it was there, but the track limits through Eau Rouge were a bit questionable. But no, he's kept his foot in, but the slipstream really coming into play now for Supervicious. He's going to challenge Bro into the braking zone, but it's going to be a difficult one in these conditions to sling it around the outside now. I don't think he's going to manage that.
No, Supervicious, I think he's going to... Oh, no, he's had to back out of it. I don't know if there was a little bit of contact between the pair of them. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, that was very, very close indeed. Just 60 seconds to go on this race, and I'm just going to keep an eye on where Steve Haley is at the moment. And he's coming through Double Gauche at the moment on the run down to Les Fagnes campus and Stavelot, and there in the bottom right-hand corner of your screens is the number 1, the defending and reigning GT4 champion here at Simsport Racing. He's now heading through in towards campus and then into the right-hander at Stavelot before he heads to Paul Frère. Just under 20, well, we are fast running out of time here. And it's been an absolutely awesome battle between Aidan Bro and Carolis Supervicious. But Steve Haley, he's literally seconds away. We've got not much time left. And that is how much it has changed. 0 on the clock. 45 minutes are up. Torrential wet weather conditions have been tamed by one driver above all, who now heads through the bus stop chicane for the final time on the 17th and final lap. It is Simply Races. Stephen Haley in the number 1, the defending champion, goes in with a slightly comfortable advantage as he wins here at Spa-Francorchamps. That puts him on 172 points. And looking at it from this perspective, the top 3 will be separated by 8 points. Butler Pal Motorsports, Aidan Bro comes out of the bus stop chicane. And in the 557 Audi, he takes 2nd position, having started 9th, ahead of Carolis Supervicious, who started 10th, and also made up 7 positions to round out the podium here. Wow, what a race we've been treated to. Michael Haffenden from HF Impala A takes 4th. Yannick Müller, he brings himself into the party, maybe even into the top 3 towards the end of the season. He takes 5th. Kieran Vidago takes 6th, ahead of Stijn Paspont, who takes 7th position. Lucas Zentalis comes out of the final corner, followed by Ranjiv Kalsi, and then Richard Pixley from 22nd to 10th at the finish line after 17 laps. Regan Mitchell from the investigation team duo will better Gerard Debar as they cross the line in 11th and 12th respectively. And there is Adam Isailovic from Stone Dead last. He's made up 21 places to finish in 13th ahead of Jeffrey Wolf. But Dave Hedges provisionally takes the reverse top 15 pole position for the Brands Hatch finale. Evan Nitafas started in 30th, finished in 16th. Here's Reese Wiggin in the 667 Porsche. He's going to come out of the final corner and take 18th position ahead of Mark Neutelings. Looks like Baz Schuster, well, no, it's Ollie Giel that is going to take 18th ahead of Neutelings in the 666 Marcada Racing Mercedes. So a good run by those two drivers. Baz Schuster will very shortly cross the line and take 20th position. Aaron Walker, despite starting down in 31st, well, he's actually ended up turned around the wrong way, and that was heading, I think, towards possibly Blanchimont. That was coming through Blanchimont, so not been the greatest evening for Aaron Walker in the number 99. Angus Martin having his own fair share of dramas, but here at Spa-Francorchamps, Stephen Haley has, I think in tennis, it's normally advantage Haley going into Brands Hatch in just a week's time and winning by over 21.8 seconds. Brilliant job by him, wasn't it, Steve?
Yeah, fantastic drive from Steve Haley, just to get his head down right from the start, from a very first lap, and just pull out all that time, and then just keep going. You know, he's had a very, very lonely race, but he's done what he needs to do while the other guys behind him battled it out. And a fantastic drive, it has to be said, from all three championship contenders at the moment, with Brohan and Super Vicious having great races as well, made up, like say, 7 positions apiece, got it into the top 3. So we've got the top 3 contenders for the championship all on the podium, and hopefully they will be in the interview room very soon for us to talk to.
Yeah, well, just to give you a provisional update on the virtual championship standings, and I can actually tell you who are in the top 9 or top 8, because we have got a tie for second at the moment. Steve Haley provisionally has a lead of, he's on 172 points, ahead of both Aidan Bro and Carolis Supervicious, who are both on 164. Then it is Regan Mitchell that now gets promoted up into third place, I believe, as a result of his 20 points that he just scored that time around. Charlie Croston will drop to 6th behind the likes of Yannick Muller and Kieran Vidago, who go up to 124 and 113 points respectively. Crossland still on 112, serving his race ban. Tim Fulbrook drops to 7th in the standings ahead of Gerard Debar, who are both on 106 and 104 respectively. That is all provisional, pending any stewards' inquiries and any protests post-race. I don't know if that's being lit up at the moment, Steve, because I haven't really kept much notice on it, but I think it's now time for us to head down to the interview booth and speak to our top 3.
Great stuff, let's go.
Good evening, gentlemen. Can you all hear me?
Yep.
Good stuff. Well, I think we should go to our race winner first, Stephen Haley. In the KTM, probably before this race, you weren't really looking forward to it. Probably not the strongest track for the KTM, but the rain, I think, was a bit of an equaliser for you, wasn't it?
Yep. I think on this whole week run up to the race, I was kind of thinking, you know, even if I managed to get to the bottom of Kemmel Straight on the first lap in front of everybody else, I'm just going to get swallowed up by the time I get to Blanchimont. Definitely not the KTM's favoured track for sure, but in the practice session before the race, we had a bit of rain, so we was able to test, and I almost got a bit giddy. So I asked, obviously I've got Mr. Kelsey to thank for his rain dance. It seemed to have worked as it flicked over to the race. It was nice and wet, so it was a bit heavier than the practice session, so just adjustments to the tyre, pressures, etc. And away we went.
Well, I think, Alex, if I can just bring you in here, because you've been doing some calculations for the championship points, haven't you, buddy?
Yeah, Steve, provisionally speaking, you came into this... like literally you were behind Carolis in the standings. You now have an 8-point advantage, provisionally speaking, going into Brands Hatch. But then with Aidan and Carolis tied on points on 164 apiece, you've got your work cut out for you at Brands Hatch in a week's time, mate.
Absolutely, yeah. It's going to go down to the wire again. I think last season was a very similar race. the way we kind of worked out where I had to finish and where the other guys had to finish. It was all them. But I'm quite pleased it's going down to the last race, down to the wire. It makes it much more exciting. I was watching the deltas of the guys behind me. And I was just saying to the guys in the green room, I was willing Aidan to, obviously for my own selfish reasons, to beat Carolis, but that's great.
Yeah, it was a fantastic drive tonight, Steve. So I'm guessing you're going to put a lot of laps in now, practice for Brands Hatch. So like I say, well done on this evening's race, and from everybody else, it's good luck for Brands Hatch, mate, and I can't wait for that one to start.
Yeah, it should be good fun. Onward and upward. Congratulations to the guys.
No, thank you. On to Aidan now. Great drive, Aidan. Difficult race. We couldn't predict anything at the start. Myself and Alex were chatting away of who's going to do what do we think's the best car. We just couldn't tell. The conditions were very treacherous. I mean, how was that for you, buddy?
First, I've got to congratulate Stephen on his win, because the KTM was absolutely untouchable. So that was one of the cars that was going to be one to watch. I'll be honest, I've never driven the Audi in the wet until practice before the race, and there wasn't proper rain conditions even in there, so it was more damp conditions. So coming into this, I had no idea where I was going to be pace-wise. But yeah, enjoyable. Managed to pick off a few early places. Could see Carolis coming with me as well behind. I was hoping he'd get held up a little bit more than that, but he sort of sided his way through with me. And then it was just a matter of trying to keep him behind. But at the end, he just seemed to have better pace than me. So it was just defensive mode and try and bring home the P2, knowing that if he does get by, it makes the championship close between the top two. But I want to still be in that fight. So going into Brands Hatch. So just had to make sure I got second, third. It would have then been a tall order in at Brands Hatch, but hopefully with a bit of luck and a bit of good driving in the final round, we might be able to snatch it at the line. But we'll just see.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've got the reverse top 15, so it puts you ahead on the grid of Steve Haley. Obviously, albeit you're on the same row as him, you're lining up alongside him, and Carolis will be in front of you. But towards the end there, was your pace suffering, or was it just that Carolis seemed to have gained pace, because he was closing very, very quickly in that last, say, third quarter or third of the race? He did seem to be. He had a good half second on you on a lot of laps.
I think he struggled in the first phase of the race, and then the second phase he sort of come alive, and I dropped off. I think it was probably a bit of both, him picking up pace and me losing pace. I don't know whether it was the tyres going off maybe a little bit, but it's not a long race, so it's potentially not tyres. It was just me driving not quite so well, because initially I was eyes forward, pushing like crazy, but as soon as Stephen pulled such a big gap, my eyes then went back. And that's the worst thing you can really do, is start looking behind you and looking at delta times and all of that. So that's probably my own downfall a little bit.
Yeah, but that's it's easy to say you shouldn't do that, but it's very difficult not to do that in the race scenario, isn't it? But I mean, you've done your championship challenge, no harm whatsoever. You're in joint second place at the moment. Fantastic drive this evening, and like I say, you've got every chance at Brands Hatch. So well done for this evening, great drive, and well done for bringing it home in second place. Alex, anything from yourself?
Yeah, Aidan, firstly, congratulations. Well done. Brilliant drive. I mean, both you and Carolis made up 7 positions. You were on the same, you're both on row 5, going down into Eau Rouge for the first time. But obviously, you've been very open. I think it was earlier on in the season that you said about the brakes on the Audi that it was, having the wrong set of pads in. With obviously the downhill parts of Spa-Francorchamps, you can let the car rotate, lift and coast a little bit more. Did that help with regards to the brakes this time around for the stopping power?
In the sense that in the dry, in the wet, a different kettle of fish completely. Just braking so much harder, I feel real pain for the Maserati drivers with no ABS whatsoever. But this is effectively ABS on or off, so it's it's really tricky in the rain. Like the amount of times I was maybe only 20% on the brake and still locking wheels, it was crazy. So yeah, it definitely helped in the dry. Wet, not so much.
Well, well done, buddy. Congratulations. 164 points. God, you've got to sniff at that title next week at Brands Hatch. I know you're going to give everything for it. And I know that obviously the team at Butler Palm Motorsport, especially the likes of René and Niklas, who I both know personally, I'm sure that they'll be sort of looking at this saying, "Oh, this is looking rather interesting now."
They'll be keeping their eyes on it, I think.
They definitely will be. They definitely will be. But well done tonight, Aidan. Great job. And look forward to seeing you give it your all at Brands Hatch next week for the season finale.
Yeah, cheers, guys.
Carolis, well done, buddy. Hard fought third place, and as Alex pointed out, made up 7 places from the start in what was a very, very difficult race this evening. But you know, you've got to be happy with third tonight in these conditions, and you know, pushing Aidan at the end. Yeah, it would have been nice to get that second place, but you know, how was it for you, buddy?
Oh, it was a very tricky race because. Yeah, first of all, congrats to the guys in front. Great job. And yeah, for me it was tricky because I somehow forgot about the possibility of rain, because all the time I trained in the practice server, there was never rainy conditions, and I was in such a great pace, so I was really hopeful about the race today. And then I came late to the practice and I see that it's raining and I don't have pressures figured out. I went out first on slicks to see if it's possible. So yeah, it's like a crazy race for me, but in the end I'm happy with third, at least with that.
Absolutely. I mean, it keeps you in the championship fight. We think at the moment, obviously subject to any stewards' inquiries and just double checking the points, you're joint second at the moment on points. But I mean, does that the lack of practice, does that explain the reason why you sort of gained a lot of pace towards the end of the race, that you were just getting used to the car and the conditions?
Yeah, pretty much, because in the beginning part of the race I was always driving behind someone, so I could never pick up my braking points. I was always braking where other guys braking and just trying to, you know, pick my way through somehow slowly. And when I got in the front a bit, then it opened up and I had to pick my braking points again from scratch. So yeah, that was the tricky part.
Well done on a fantastic drive, because as I keep saying, and I've said to all three of you this evening, not easy to drive in these conditions around this circuit, and when you're battling for a championship, that just adds that little bit of extra pressure, not to mention having to come through the field a little bit. So well done on that, buddy. And you know, I mean, I'm really looking forward to Brands Hatch. What's going to be going through your head at Brands Hatch, coming from joint second in the championship? Are you going to pretty much try and go for the win, or is it just a case of working out the points of what you need and where you need to finish in relation to the likes of Steve Haley and Aidan to beat them, sort of thing?
Yeah, I think first of all it should be the championship in mind, but you always just try to go for the best result possible, so I don't think anything is going to change there. I'm just happy that I'm coming off a 6 hours race with GT4 in Brands Hatch, so I have some knowledge of the track now already.
Yeah, so you're familiar with the track, you've got a setup for the car, so you should be all good then. So yeah, just from me, well done. Like I say, well done to everybody. Alex, anything to add?
Again, Carolis, you know, coming into a track that was very much green to you in terms of these conditions, a fantastic job. Just really wanted to concentrate a little bit on the battle between you and Aidan in the latter stages. I mean, you both were elbows out. No one was giving an inch on the circuit, but it was hard and fair racing. And that was one of the highlights, I would have thought, from, you know, making up the initial early places, that was a sort of like a really good memento to have from here at Spa, despite the really bad weather conditions.
Oh yeah, that's true. I mean, all the hard racing is enjoyable, so even if you don't win, it's still fun, because, you know, if you have a good dance partner, it's always fun to dance. So yeah, that's true.
Well, as they say, it always takes two to tango.
Yeah.
So Carolis, well done tonight. Congratulations. Third in the second equal in the championship on 164 points with Aidan. Wishing you all the very best of luck, and for Brands Hatch at the season finale next Wednesday. Well done, mate.
Thanks a lot, guys. See you soon. Bye.
Well done, guys.
So that was some interesting interviews from the guys there, the top three on the podium and the top three in the championship, really setting things up for a lively finish next week at Brands Hatch, don't you think, Alex? Okay, so we appear to have lost Alex, but I'm just going to round up with what was an absolutely fantastic race. Very difficult conditions for all the drivers involved, but just showed what good clean racing we have at Simsport Racing. Fantastic driving from the top three, and really looking forward to Brands Hatch next week. So thank you very much for joining us, and on behalf of myself and Alex, thank you for being here, and we will see you next week at Brands Hatch.